29th of Shabbat, 5786, Monday, February 16th. Everything sucks. My Rebbitzin want me to say it's February, not February, even though they say sometimes on TV, it's not, it's Ru. Really? Yeah. One time I had a spelling test, and I'm telling you that I think that the teacher wrote it incorrectly, and or somebody, and I may have gotten that not as correctly as I wanted. Really? Perhaps. Dude, spelling tests were so fucking intense because you wanted to get everything right. And then math tests, doing fucking math tests. What would we call those things? Like time to math sheets. They would be really big as well. All right, let's get into it. I got 99 Zuris, but a bitch ain't one. Chillazone, Murex Trunculus. That bitch sounds like a Pokemon. Golus. That's the Jewish diaspora in exile. Chachma, Bina, Da'at Chachma. Wisdom, Bina, understanding, Da'at, knowledge. Gay Kakin, Afin Yam. Lek Tizdayan. That means go piss in the ocean. Alright, oh fuck, I gotta do that thing. It sucks. May Hashem bless you and guard you. May Hashem shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Hashem lift his face to you and grant you peace. Why? Why not? Akin ani medaber ivrit bekar ivrit mikra'it al she befoal anaknu amurim ledaber Yiddish o ulai aramit shegam otan ani yakol ledaber bamida mesuyemet laval ani ma'adif anglit lakin bo'u nedaber anglit ze nishma tov lecha. Alright, let's do this fucking thing. Why? Why not? Dog, if I get these fucking bots going, Israel is gonna shit themselves. Really? Oh, for sure. Really? Oh, dog. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Nishmecha, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Benismecha. Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Benismecha. Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Benismecha. Uru, Uru Akim, Urakim, Belezmeach, Urakim, Belezmeach, Urakim, Belezmeach, Urakim, Belezmeach, Urakim, Belezmeach. Hey, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Benismecha, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Benismecha. Havane ranena, Havane ranena, Havane ranena, Venismecha. Havane ranena, Havane ranena, Havane ranena, Venismecha. Urakim, Urakim benesameach, Urakim benesameach, Urakim belepsameach, Urakim belepsameach, Urakim. Urakim. Benesameach. Dude, there's some fucking anti-Semitic things that they say on the comments. The comments are just garbage. All right, that was cool. Really? Yeah, I think it was cool as fuck. All right, now what? We've got to go review Yiddish. Why? I know. Amachai, something so pleasurable that it could revivify the dead. Halavai, I wish so. Amachai, that's what Rebbitzin hopes for, that we should. Amachai, that's Amachai is what Rebbitzin hopes for. No, Amakai is what Rebbitzin says after we stop. Halavai, that's a Rebbitzin hopes for to stoop. I wish. Yiddish cop, Jewish head. Yenta, it's a talkative bitch, kind of a fetish of mine. Takalis, brass tacks. Nosh, munching on pussy, snacking on pussy. Bashert, Bashert is soulmate. Bashirter is a male soulmate. Bashirta is a female soulmate. Mishmash, I was taking a bath. That was a mixture. Bupkis means means nothing. Good Yontif. It's happy holiday. L'chaim, to life. Parv, neutral. Glatt, kosher, smooth. Mensch, that's a dude. That's a good dude. A female equivalent is not mensch. I don't like that. It's I feel like mencha should be a word, but whatever. Um, it would be Aishai Chayil could work, or what else? A Sadakis Froy or a Gittel. Skoyak, that's Yasher Koak, that's it was Yasher Kokaka, which was Yasher Kokaka. May your strength be directed forward. Then it became Yasher Koak. Now it's Skoyak. Oh, that's like, oh fuck. Stettel is a town. Shadel is a wig. Streimel is a hat. Milkig, Fleischig, Parv. Milkig is dairy. Fleischig is meat. Parv is neutral. Hamish or Heimish, that's homie. Schmata means rags. Schwiger means mother-in-law. Chazir is pig. Chazar is to repeat. Schlep is carry a burden. Meshuga means wild. And crazy guy. Gonef means thief. Yarmuluk. Yamluk. Yarmulka. Yarmulka is a hat. Trafe. Shit means torn. Really? Yeah, let's have this shit read for us.
What does treif mean? Treif, also written treif, or treif, is the Yiddish word that means unkosher. It is an adaptation of the Hebrew word trifa, which describes something that has been mangled or torn asunder. Here's how this word came to mean unkosher. Treif in the Torah. In the Bible, we read that an animal that has been mauled trifa is forbidden to be eaten, as all kosher meat and poultry must be killed by way of shechita, kosher slaughter. As the verse says, flesh torn, trifa, in the field you shall not eat, you shall throw it to the dogs. 1. The meat of animals that die of other causes, natural or otherwise, is also forbidden. As we read, he shall not eat a carcass or anything that was torn, trifa. 2. Thus, the word trifa expanded to include all forbidden dead things. The trifa net extends even wider. Through carefully analyzing the verses, the sages understand that the flesh of an animal that has not died of its wounds, but is injured or unhealthy to the degree that it would die soon, is forbidden, even if someone performs shechita on it before it dies. Such an animal is also included under the rubric of trifa. The colloquial treif. In common parlance, anything that is not kosher is also called treif. So a mixture of milk and meat can be called treif, as is the flesh of a non-kosher species. Then, moving beyond the confines of food, any action can be informally referred to as treif. This mirrors the use of the word kosher, which literally means fit, to refer more broadly to anything that is above board or legit. American treif. Among some pious European Jews, America was known as Detrefini, Medina, the treif land, because of the assumption that those who moved there would soon abandon traditional Jewish practices. All this was turned on its head one winter day in 1940 when the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Sneerson, arrived in New York Harbor, having been saved from Nazi-occupied Poland. America is nicht anders, he declared. America is no different. He then set about founding a string of Jewish institutions all across the American Northeast and Canada, which eventually gave rise to the thousands of Chabad centers all around the world and the Jewish Renaissance they have created.
Or
Everyone agrees that halakha l'maisa, when you have a cover that covers its opening in the ground, everyone will agree that halakha l'maisa. Everyone will agree that halakha l'maisa. Something like soft, nothing when it comes to this, nothing ever.
Most valuable basketball player, most valuable lesson. Tamir Goodman has had a dream ever since he was a little boy. He wanted to share his love of GD with the world. He wanted to fight for his people and to help them understand their place in the world and their unique mission. But unlike many religious Jews, Tamir did not reach out by becoming a rabbi as did his brother, who was a Chabad emissary. Tamir was convinced there was another way for him to achieve his goal, through basketball. Tamir excelled at the sport from a very young age. In fact, he was so good that I got invited to play at the Michael Jordan Capital Classic. I won Most Valuable Player, and I was the first Jewish player to win that. He soon found himself the center of a media firestorm. He was featured in Sports Illustrated and interviewed by ESPN, 60 Minutes, and Fox Sports. Eventually, he was offered a place on the University of Maryland basketball team, but he turned it down because they played on Shabbat. As I was talking to Tamir, I couldn't help but wonder if it bothered him that he gave up the potential to be one of the biggest stars in America and become famous the world over. But again and again, he seemed to be totally confident in his choices, as if they were not choices at all. To him, not playing on Shabbat was a blessing. As he said, I always knew my basketball came from GD, and I knew that if you watch after Shabbat, Shabbat will watch after you. Over the past few years, Tamir Goodman has found one home after another to play basketball. He started out at Towson College, which he loved. The conference changed their entire schedule, so I wouldn't have to play on Shabbat, he related. But after Tamir's first year, the coach who had gone to such lengths to accommodate him was fired, and Tamir decided to move on. He moved to Israel. I signed a 3-year contract with Maccabi Tel Aviv, and I became the first basketball player not to play on Shabbat or the holidays. After this, he served in the military, got married, and rejoined Maccabi, this time for Maccabi Haifa. So far, he plans to stay. Tamir's greatest strength has been that he does not see basketball as an end to itself. For someone with so much skill, Tamir is incredibly humble. He claims that basketball is only a tool. A tool for what? Growing up, I always heard in my Chabad synagogue that we had to make a physical dwelling place for GD, and we all have to do it in our own way. I knew no other way but basketball. Tamir volunteering at Camp Ruach. And so now Tamir, who is in Israel playing basketball, can do what he has always dreamed of, truly change the world. He has transformed the action of throwing a ball in a hoop, of jumping around a wood court, into a holy activity. How has he done this? Just ask his fans. From a lawyer who told him, I never put on my kippah in court until I saw you play with your kippah, to his fellow athletes from all over the world who contact him asking how to be observant and still be involved in their sports. Tamir has been able to affect people just by living the life he leads, proudly, with his head held high. One time, we were playing a very intense game in a college tournament, remembers Tamir, and I dove on a ball, and another guy dived at the same time. He ran into me and gave me a small concussion. When I got up, everyone was up and smiling and clapping, and I didn't understand why they were cheering. When I reviewed the tape, though, I found out that my non-Jewish teammate had picked up my kippah and put it on my head, and because of that, thousands of people got up and applauded. While many of us might be afraid of playing with a kippah among non-Jews, Tamir has shown that being proud of oneself only helps relations with others. Although his roommate in college was Muslim, the two got along well, to the point that his roommate would turn off the TV whenever Tamir would come home on Shabbat. But Tamir is not just passively doing his part. No, he is pulling GD down to earth with all his professionally trained strength. Every summer, he does as many speaking engagements as he can. In addition, Tamir explained that he and his Haifa basketball team set up a program called Haifa Hoops for Kids, where we use basketball as a tool to get people closer to Israel and closer to their heritage. The program is for kids from all over the spectrum, and some of the participants are from disadvantaged backgrounds. The bottom line is a love for GD, and basketball is just a tool. And while Tamir takes his job incredibly seriously, pushing himself till tears every day, he only does it because I know that's what GD expects from me. Everyone has their mission. No one's mission is more important than the other, Tamir stated. The goal, he believes, is that we all work ourselves to tears every day until we shoot the winning shot in the fourth quarter and come out victorious. See Tamir's website at tamirgoodman.com.
I think you could play on Shabbat. Really? Yeah, the sweating's the issue. Really? Yeah, but I think that we could work around that.
My son's badge of honor, wearing his kippah in public. Wearing a kippah, or skull cap, in public where I live is almost unheard of. There are a handful of religious Jews here, mainly rabbis' families, but our area is largely insulated from any Jewish communities, the closest being a 5-hour drive across the state. Growing up here, I was used to the white, or black nylon kippahs that men would quickly grab from a basket and slap on their heads as they entered the large temple sanctuary. I would often gaze in wonder at the brazen men who would bypass the freebie kippahs and choose to go bareheaded. The thin kippah seemed like a polite attempt to replicate something more genuine, but no one seemed fooled. Something within me was stirring, restless, searching for more, so I threw myself into Jewish life, sisterhood, committees, community work. Then I looked outside my religion, finding some meaning, but nothing that seemed right. What I was searching for, though I didn't know it at the time, was authenticity, and an open expression of faith in GD, versus the often nondescript agnostic Judaism of my childhood. Here I am, more than 20 years later, living in the same area, but in a different world altogether. Wearing a kippah, or skull cap, in public where I live is almost unheard of. My husband and I grew up here, around the block from each other. As we got married and had children of our own, we started to look more deeply at our religious practices, or lack thereof. That started us on an ongoing Jewish journey, a lifetime of learning, and a bit of a shock for our friends and family who wondered when we'd get over this Jewish thing. Our religiousness is now most evident by looking at my 5-year-old son, who almost always wears his kippah, and sometimes his tzitzit, or knotted ritual fringes. There's still some uneasiness for me as a mother, letting him out into the world with such an open expression of our Jewish identity. We discovered Torah observant Judaism when he was a baby, so he doesn't know life any other way. Our children don't realize that my husband and I grew up not knowing about things like Shabbat and keeping kosher, that for us kippahs were worn only at synagogue, and often not even there. The past 5 years we've been learning, growing, relishing our newly found Judaism. taking it all in like children, along with our children, discovering something rich and exciting. It hasn't always been easy, after years of marriage, and with young children in tow, completely transforming in front of our friends and family, who often balked at our changing lifestyle. But we are living by the Torah, like Jews have done for 3,300 years, and we are starting to see how it's affecting our children, who are secure and even excited about being Jewish. We were somewhat combative at first, my husband and I, with each other, and with our extended family as we embarked on this journey. But we are finally reaching a place of peace. My son proudly wears his kippah in public, and in some ways is leading all of us, helping us become more comfortable and confident in our religious observance. At first, he wore it just to synagogue, and sometimes at home. He would take it off, at our encouragement, when we were going someplace Jewish. When we visited our non-religious family, his grandparents, aunts, and uncles, it just didn't find its way onto his head as we headed out the door. The first few times they saw him wearing it, we were making a clear statement, even if it wasn't intentional. My 6-year-old daughter, like me, has started wearing modest clothing, including skirts and dresses. The garb of women is not as obvious, however, especially to the untrained eye.
Mini
But there is
skirts
no
and
mistaking
ball
the kippah,
gowns.
especially to a fellow Jew. There's still some uneasiness for me as a mother, letting him out into the world with such an open expression of our Jewish identity. Whether real or not, I imagined our parents thinking, now they're forcing their newly religious, fanatical ways on their innocent children, having them show their Judaism in public. But as my husband and I become more comfortable with our observance, as we travel to Jewish communities and continue to learn, these feelings have gradually subsided. And as our children spend time with the children of local rabbis and other families in our small community, and attend a traditional Jewish school, they're being rooted confidently in their Judaism. For my son, a kippah is a badge of honor, something worn by the older boys that he so admires. Now it's a given that he wears his kippah, black velvet with silver and gold trim, and his little head looks naked without it. My husband also wears a kippah more and more, in large part because of our son. We'll sometimes get compliments on my son's hat. Adults will glance at it and try not to stare. Children aren't as polite as their heads whip around to catch a better view as we pass by. My husband reminds our son, and those who ask about the kippah, why they wear it. He tells them it's a reminder that GD is everywhere, of who we are as Jews, and to be good people. I feel like we must look and act our best when my son dons his badge of Jewish honor. That we are somehow serving as an example for Jews everywhere, this Jewish family making the seemingly long walk from the parking lot into the library or grocery store. Sometimes I remind my children that they should be on their best behavior, and how special they are to be Jewish children. And as a parent, I'm aware that the kippah on my son's head is also a reminder for me, which means being a little extra polite even when I'm not in the mood. As we walk in public, my son's kippah on his head for all to see. I hold his hand, pull him a little closer, because I still feel the need to protect him from a world that can sometimes be cruel. And I say a prayer, that GD will watch over us, and keep us safe, and that we will serve as an example of goodness, and gentleness to those around us.
That's a cool story. As I was not paying attention to that, how many fucking there's something we're gonna add to this bitch. The fuck. The calendar. What the fuck?
The controversy began after an attack on 35-year-old Benjamin Amzelem, a teacher at a Jewish school in Marseille. The more surprising thing was that these articles were positive, which is unusual in such publications in France. Kippah debate in France seen as a blessing in disguise. A call for Jews to remove their head coverings results in unusual support for Jewish practice. The controversy began after an attack on 35-year-old Benjamin Amzelem, a teacher at a Jewish school in Marseille. Amzelem, who was wearing a kippah at the time, was not seriously hurt in the January 11th attack. Still, it was the latest in a string of assaults and anti-Semitic incidents targeted the Marseille Jewish community, the second largest Jewish population in France after Paris. Signs of solidarity. Amzelem, who was wearing a kippah at the time, was not seriously hurt in the January 11th attack. Still, it was the latest in a string of assaults and anti-Semitic incidents targeted the Marseille Jewish community, the second largest Jewish population in France after Paris. Signs of solidarity. In response to the attack, Chief Rabbi of France Chaim Portia asked fans of the Marseille soccer club, the Olympique de Marseille, to wear a kippah at the next home game to show solidarity with the Jewish community, a move that was met with a generally positive response. When a community leader in the southern French city of Marseille recently suggested that Jewish men and boys should stop wearing their kippahs in public for fear of anti-Semitic attacks, he inadvertently launched a healthy dialogue on just how important it is for Jews to be able to practice their faith openly, say leaders of Chabad Lubavitch in France. In response to the attack, Chief Rabbi of France Chaim Portia asked fans of the Marseille soccer club, the Olympique de Marseille, to wear a kippah at the next home game to show solidarity with the Jewish community, a move that was met with a generally positive response. And at least two French legislators, Claude Boscoon and Meir Habib, who is Jewish, wore kippahs at the French parliament as a sign of solidarity with the Jewish community after the attack on the schoolteacher. It is very important for Jews to continue wearing kippahs, and not only because it is a Jewish law, stated Nissenbaum. Rabbi Chaim Shner Nissenbaum of the complex Scolaire Beth Chaim Mauschka School in Paris, and a spokesman for Chabad in France thought that perhaps the community leaders spoke under the shock of the event, and didn't think much about it. The Jewish people have remained alive, in spite of everything, because we know where we come from and the purpose of our existence. For Jews to give up their kippahs, he said, would be like handing an easy victory to the terrorists. And at least two French legislators, Claude Boscoon and Meir Habib, who is Jewish, wore kippahs at the French parliament as a sign of solidarity with the Jewish community after the attack on the schoolteacher. Even in the saddest ages, Jews have faced oppression with pride and consciousness. It is very important for Jews to continue wearing kippahs, and not only because it is a Jewish law, stated Nissenbaum. The Jewish people have remained alive, in spite of everything, because we know where we come from and the purpose of our existence. Zvi Amar, president of the Consistoire Isra Elite Marseille, made a statement shortly after a machete-wielding teenager attacked a Jewish man last Monday, nearly a year to the day after the terrorist hostage situation, and the hyper-kasher supermarket in Paris left 4 Jewish men dead. To accept and hide ourselves by removing our kippah is exactly the opposite of such an attitude, and cannot cause anything else than a worse situation. Even in the saddest ages, Jews have faced oppression with pride and consciousness. But Amar's mistake, as Nissenbaum put it, resulted in some favorable consequences. To accept and hide ourselves by removing our kippah is exactly the opposite of such an attitude, and cannot cause anything else than a worse situation. Two French legislators, Claude Boscoon, left, and Meir Habib, wore kippahs in the French parliament as a show of support to the Jewish community following an attack last week on a Jewish teacher in Marseille. In the French newspapers, including the leftist ones, you could read many articles about the kippah and the question of being a Jew in France, he said. The more surprising thing was that these articles were positive, which is unusual in such publications in France. Two French legislators, Claude Goscoon, left, and Meir Habib, wore kippahs in the French parliament as a show of support to the Jewish community following an attack last week on a Jewish teacher in Marseille. Rabbi Chaim Schneur-Nissenbaum, a spokesman for Chabad in France, thought that perhaps the community leader spoke under the shock of the event and didn't think much about it. The controversy began after an attack on 35-year-old Benjamin Amzelem, a teacher at a Jewish school in Marseille. Amzelem, who was wearing a kippah at the time,
They say
was not
that
seriously hurt in
Marseille
January
is
11th
the
attack. Still,
second
it was the latest
biggest
to a string
Jewish
of assaults and anti-Semitic
population
incidents
in
targeted the Marseille
fucking
Jewish community, the
France.
second largest
I'm
Jewish
throwing
population in
fists.
France after Paris. Signs of solidarity. For Jews to give up their kippahs, he continued, would be like handing an easy victory to the terrorists. Rabbi Chaim Schneur-Nissenbaum, a spokesman for Chabad in France, thought that perhaps the community leader spoke under the shock of the event and didn't think much about it. For Jews to give up their kippahs, he continued, would be like handing an easy victory to the terrorists. In response to the attack, Chief Rabbi of France Chaim Korja asked fans of the Marseille
Stop. We get it. Are you enjoying Safari? I hate that. I hate fucking pop-ups.
Vegas cop settles religious discrimination case. A Las Vegas police officer who sued his department for religious discrimination won a $350,000 settlement this week when his employer's fiscal affairs committee approved the award and granted him the right to wear a beard and cover his head in keeping with his practice of Judaism. The action brings to a close to 2 year suit brought by Detective Steve Riva, who joined the Las Vegas Metro Police Department 10 years ago and began exploring his religious heritage in earnest with a local Chabad Lubavitch rabbi 4 years after that. Over the years, Ryback took on more and more Jewish practices, including observing Shabbat and keeping kosher. He also grew a bread and wore a head covering, actions not inconsistent with the police department's dress code for undercover detectives.
Who wrote
But when he
this?
transferred to a desk job, his superiors, citing regulations, ordered him to shave and leave his head uncovered. A request for a religious accommodation was similarly denied. According to Rivak's lawyers, Lee Roland, a step attorney in the Nevada chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union, and General Counsel Alan Lichtenstein, as part of the agreement worked out with the department, Ryback will remain in his current position and will be able to wear a baseball cap and maintain a beard no longer than a quarter of an inch long. He will not be able to seek a transfer or promotion for 2 years. Lichtenstein said he saw the case as setting an important precedent for religious accommodations in the workplace. Steve should never have been denied the basic freedom of religion, he said. Ryback echoed that point in an interview with the Las Vegas Sun, saying that he hoped his case breaks ground for people of all religions in the city. I would hope that people can learn a lesson from what happened, said Ryback. So that it's not just, Steve's allowed to do this today, but 2 years from now, we're going to flip this around. Rabbi Yehoshua Harlik, who directs Chabad of Southern Nevada, said that many people who attend his congregation have, like Ryback, have committed to more Jewish practices in their lives, despite the obstacles. Steve is an example of the struggle that many people go through daily, said the rabbi. Added Rivak, people in the department are proud that I stood up for my beliefs and stuck to my identity.
Have you ever been told that you can't wear a fucking beard? Yeah, they said my beard was too long, that I was out rabbiing the rabbi, and I looked too froom. Really? I'll never forget, kids. I mean, I looked like, I remember when another rabbinical colleague saw me there, like, do you know how, like, nobody's dressing like you in Orange County? I'm like, I know. Haven't you ever been to Chabad? And they were like, well, yeah, but I mean, that's Chabad. And I was like, calm the fuck down, Dad. Those are my people. Anyway, they're like, can you make it more modern Orthodox? So I had to get a fucking haircut and a fucking beard trimming. I still wore a beard, but not as long. And I did that for a few years. I remember, though, having this fucking rabbinical guy put his arm around me, and he was like, when people come into shul, they come into you. And I'm like, yeah, well, is that my fucking fault? Really? Yeah, they would come to me, and I'd be like, go to my rabbinical colleague. Anyway, but would they? Yeah, they come to me, and they'd be like, oh, this is a guy. I know another guy who really frums it up, especially on Shabbat. And this motherfucker walked in, and I was like, oh, this is the fucking chief Sephardic rabbi of Israel. I thought this motherfucker was just like, Yitzhak Yosef. No, he's just some fucking guy from Philadelphia. Really, yeah. I like him a lot, though.
The man in the glass case. You can learn more about a person from his unguarded moments than from watching him when he knows that he is the center of your attention. Similarly, we can learn more about a culture or a society from its offhand customs than we can from its established philosophy. I propose to call attention to a few offhand customs in Western society and comment on them in a manner that is significant when one compares these with the Jewish attitude to the same things. If I am not mistaken, one can find a fundamental difference between the value systems of the Western world and that of the Torah way of life. In Western society, removal of the hat is a sign of respect. One enters a home, a place of worship, or comes before the queen bareheaded. The reverse is so with the Jew. Covering the head is a sign of respect. Thus it is forbidden to mention GD's name with one's head uncovered. The Shulchan Aruch, Code of Jewish Law, states that it is the mark of a pious man that he keeps his head covered at all times. In our day, the wearing of the kippah has become the sine qua non of the religious Jew. If you wish, it has become his uniform. This difference of practice is a symptom of a more deep-seated divergence in values. The covering of the head is meant as a constant reminder that there is a power higher than human reason or understanding. Even though man's reason is what renders him preeminent among other creatures, the Torah nonetheless proclaims that this is not man's greatest or most valuable capacity, and, Aristotle notwithstanding, man's reason is not what makes him divine. The highest power in man is the recognition of the Creator as a being who utterly transcends reason, whom we call GD, and before whom man is duty-bound to make his reason subservient and to humble himself. This is the ultimate truth of man's situation in the world. It is not only a metaphysical truth, it is a moral one as well. It is a fallacy to suppose that the morality and well-being of man advances with the progress of science, or the advancement of knowledge. This fallacy is a legacy from Plato, who proclaimed that knowledge itself is virtue, and thus the highest form of knowledge leads to the highest virtue. For Plato, the highest form of knowledge was geometry, and it would seem to follow that geometers are the most virtuous of men. The falsity of this requires no comment. Nor is this fallacy alleviated by replacing geometry with nuclear physics, or even philosophy. In fact, the word virtue has almost disappeared from the vocabulary of moral philosophy. One need only peruse publishers' advertisements of books on moral philosophy to see that the latest fashion in moral philosophy is to argue for the acceptance not only of abortion, which is already accepted tradition, but homosexuality, incest, infanticide, and euthanasia. If I were speaking to a philosophical audience, I could not assume that they would be shocked by such advertisements, and all that they imply. I would have to present an argument that could rationally demonstrate why adultery, sodomy, and even incest are morally evil, and frankly, I know of no such argument. If your ethical consciousness is shocked by such an advertisement, the reason is that whether or not you keep Shabbat or don't tefillin every day, you are still close enough to your heritage as a Jew to feel within your bones the moral repugnance of such acts, which controvert the Torah's definition of the sanctity of the Jewish people. The general philosophical position that lies behind most moral thinking today goes under the rubric of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is unquestionably the most popular and forceful ethical theory today. It is so taken for granted that any attempt to challenge it is greeted with ridicule and scorned by most philosophers. In simple terms, the theory says that what is morally good gives pleasure, and moral evil is what causes pain or misery. This is what is really behind arguments that defend abortion, sodomy, incest, infanticide, and euthanasia. When Jeremy Bentham first propounded his theory of utilitarianism in the early part of the 19th century, he had no idea that his theory would be used to defend the kinds of acts mentioned above, which he would have considered truly evil. Himself a British MP, Bentham originally intended his theory as a guide to legislators in fashioning laws that should try to make everyone as happy as possible, rather than catering to a select few. No doubt this is a worthy motivation, but it renders the reason of man subservient to desire. Notice that utilitarianism so defines what is good as to exclude the possibility of there being such a thing as an evil pleasure or desire, for the good is stipulated to be whatever gives one pleasure, as long as one's pleasures do not cause pain and misery to others. Thus, according to utilitarianism, there is no such thing as pursuing a pleasure that is bad. The falsity of this position is attested to by anyone who has ever felt himself drawn to desires that he knows at the time are bad. Certainly I have experienced this, and I would assume that many of you have too. Sometimes we have the power to overcome them, and sometimes we do not. Giving in to such desires creates disharmony and disturbance within ourselves and between ourselves and others. This in itself is a sign of evil, the creation of disharmony. At this point, the Torah steps into the picture and bids that we humble not only our minds, but also our power of desire before GD, and this in turn brings an inner harmony into the life of the person. The oneness of GD attests to the oneness of the world, and also of man. The essence of man, the world, and GD is oneness, and the cement of this unity is love. The contradiction to this is the ego of man, and its desires, which man's reason struggles to control. There is a story told in the Talmud that before the famous sage, Rabbi Nachman was born, a fortune teller told his mother that her unborn child would grow up to be a thief. The distraught woman went to the study hall to inquire of the rabbis what she should do. They advised her that from the moment her child was born, she should be scrupulous to see that his head was constantly covered. So she did, and her son became the rabbi, instead of a thief. One day, the story continues, Rabbi Nachman was walking in the street, and the wind blew his headgear off his head. Immediately, he was seized by a desire to steal which persisted until he replaced it. The power of the recognition of GD, and our subservience to him can neutralize the instinctive desires that one might consider uncontrollable. This is the power that the kippah gives the Jew. The covering of the head is thus a fitting symbol that distinguishes the Jew in a society where acting on desire and pursuit of pleasure defines the meaning and value of life. This story of Rabbi Nachman can instructively be compared with one about Jeremy Bentham, al-Hadl, the founder of utilitarianism. Bentham endowed the University of London on the condition that his portly body be embalmed and hung in a glass case over the entrance to the university, and there you can see it today. Bentham thought this would ensure eternal gratitude and respect. What it has earned him is derision, I think. I recently heard a radio program in which the successor to the Ripley's Believe It or Not stories was asked which of all the weird and unbelievable stories he had collected from his travels over the world had he found the strangest and most unbelievable. He answered that there was some man, he didn't mention his name, or that he was the founder of the most predominant school of moral philosophy today in England who endowed the University of London on the condition that his embalmed body be placed over the entrance. This radio interview revealed an aspect of the story which I had not previously known. The benefactor's body had to be present at all board meetings, and deference paid to it by a salute of some sort at the beginning of each meeting. The radio announcer's comment was that the story is revolting, and indeed it is. However, it is not much more revolting than some of the things now being defended by philosophers on the basis of utilitarianism as an ethical theory, things which Bentham in his day would have considered just as revolting. Nonetheless, there is a consistent line of development from a game of pushpin, a game mentioned by Bentham, being good because it is pleasurable, and sodomy being good because it is pleasurable. In either case, the head is uncovered, the ego reigns supreme. So it is a fitting memorial to the system of values that it is crowned with Bentham's portly body hovering over the heads of those who conduct the daily business of the pursuit of knowledge and understanding at one of England's most prestigious universities. All this acquisition of knowledge, when it is distilled into a way of life that is lived and defended by its practitioners, is far from what one would call a life of moral virtue or goodness. How different from the image we have of the Talmud Chacham, Torah scholar, where wisdom and understanding is traditionally associated with humility. The ultimate exemplar is Moses, our teacher, who, though the greatest mortal who ever lived, there arose no prophet ever again in Israel like Moses, whom GD knew face to face. Deuteronomy chapter 34 verse 10 was also the humblest of men, and the man Moses was very humble, more than any other man on the face of the earth. Numbers chapter 12 verse 3. How are these contradictions merged into a harmony, greatness on the one hand and humility on the other? The answer to this question is that a Jew covers his head. There are two more customs I would like to note here. In the world of Western fashion, men button their garments left over right. The origin of this custom, I am told, was to make access to weapons easier. When you meet a stranger, be on guard and have your weapon ready. To ensure that you bear no malice, stretch forth your right hand and shake to show you conceal no weapon. Jews have no fear of this. Our garments are traditionally buttoned right over left because we bear no weapons, and when we meet not show that our hands are empty. Instead, we say, Shalom, peace. The Kabbalah says that the right side of a person should always take precedence over the left, for the right side of man signifies kindness, while the left signifies sternness, justice, and retribution. Just as GD created the world primarily out of love and kindness, so love and kindness should predominate in men's dealings with one another. Therefore, one buttons the right over the left, even though this may hamper the drawing of a weapon. A third and final custom in Western society: when men drink together and toast one another, they clink their glasses. This is a throwback to the time when men, suspicious of one another, would not drink unless they poured some from each glass into every other for fear of poisoning. Jews have no fear of this when they drink together. They simply say, Elheim to life. There is a connection between all these practices. The pride and egoism of man is that which sets the hand of one man or nation against another. It is the root of violence and destruction. It is what brings divisiveness to the life of man and destruction to the world. One needs no philosophical argument to show that this is bad. Deep down, everyone knows that harmony and unity are good. The ultimate source of harmony and unity is GD, whom we choose for the first to proclaim as truly one in number and in the sense that everything ultimately is one and unified with GD. Man, the world, and GD compose a harmonious unity that transcends the external divisiveness of these three things. The goal of Torah is to reveal this hidden unity. This is the ultimate good, and the cement of this unity is love. Love of our fellow, love for the world, and love of GD. This ideal is the end of a long and arduous journey, which began when GD supplied all the Jewish people with one enormous kippah. As the Talmud relates, GD picked up Mount Sinai and held it over their heads to compel them to receive his Torah. All the other nations excused themselves when it was offered them. It did not seem rational to accept a commitment before one knew what one was committing oneself to. Indeed, it is not rational, and yet this is what GD demanded, the surrender of one's will. He demanded that Jews cover their heads. How our ancestors summoned up the ultimate trust in GD required for this kind of commitment, I do not know. But we, standing more than 3,300 years down the road from that great event, have it distilled into our bones by that many years of a history forged with sacrifice and faith. The struggle continues in modern terms with which we are all familiar, and which each of us in our own way could document from our personal lives, whether we be university professors, businessmen, or just plain Jews. For me, however, the essence of this struggle is captured by the now familiar figure of the soldier at the wall praying, his head covered.
Cool story, bro.
Yossi is told to take off his kippah at a soccer game. Would you? Sometimes doing the right thing is easy, but sometimes it involves giving up something we love. Yossi Weinbaum is 9 years old and lives in Hawaii. He has been playing soccer for 3 years, but recently he came home from a game in tears. Before we began playing, explained Yossi, the referee saw my tzitzit hanging out of my shirt and told me I couldn't play unless I took them off or cut off the strings. Unsure of how to proceed, Yossi, who has never encountered a problem like this before, took the advice of his coach to tuck in his tzitzit and get back on the field, joining his teammates on Hawaii 808. Within minutes, he scored a goal, and things appeared to be back to normal. But then in the second half of the game, the referee noticed his kippah and ordered him to remove it or leave the game. Even though he loves the game and wanted to play, taking off his kippah was non-negotiable, so Yossi walked off the field. Later, Yossi received a letter of apology from the referee who did not know what a kippah and tzitzit are, and also from the Oahu League president. Yossi can now play again with confidence, having learned a valuable lesson about himself. He is strong in his convictions, even in the face of challenge. Have you ever been in a similar position? Tell us about it in the comments below. Yossi Weinbaum left and his soccer team in Hawaii. The 9-year-old left a game this season when a referee asked him to remove his kippah after he was required to tuck in his tzitzit.
Yeah, I have. It's known as Young Israel, Orange County. Really? Dog, I was fucking as firm as you can be, baby. I was out from the fucking rabbi. Really? Yeah, alright. Gefilte fish? Yarmaluk? Yarmulke? Yarmaluk. Yarmulke. Yarmaluk. Yarmulke videos. Gefilte fish doing the fish. Alright. How is this a fucking Yarmulke video?
The following is the pilot episode for an animated spin-off of the Ichikazuli show, depicting gefilte fish's life in the ocean before he came to live with Jono. Just in case you don't know, a spin-off is an often poorly thought-out new series guaranteed instant success based solely on the popularity of a character from an existing series. Anyways, enjoy. Oh boy, I'm having so much fun at the Ocean-wide fair. Hey son, why don't you sign up for the potato sack race? Do you really think I could win? Sure I do. And besides, it's not winning that counts, but having fun. Go on, give it a try. And the final is on. The pan potato sack race champion Timor Sanam and newcomer Gefilte Fish. Don't count on winning, Gefilte Fish. I'm the king of Birdland. Oh, I don't know about this. Don't worry, son. Just go out there and have a good time. And the Getting tired, Gefilte Fish? No, I just have a glandular disorder, that's all. carrot. It's a symbol of my gefilte fish heritage. See you later, gefilte fish. Little gefilte fish, I want you to know that I'm very proud of you. But why? I lost. You sacrificed something that was important to you just to stay true to your heritage. That's what I'm proud of, and that makes you the real winner. Now go back up there and finish the race, just for fun. Check out my fins. Hey, Seymour, shouldn't you go finish the race? Nah, that gefilte fish doesn't have a chance. And the winner is gefilte fish. Hooray for me!
That was the most disturbing fucking cartoon I've ever seen. Man, some of these are long. Push, perhaps.
Yeah. No, what are you doing here?
I'm sorry. What?
You scared me.
I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to learn a little bit here.
You were fast asleep, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Look, the thing is, I'm kind of ashamed of myself. I was trying to get your lollipop.
You could have just asked me for the lollipop.
Yeah, I know that, but it was either that or bug you for money, because I gotta feed my gefilte fish.
Well, you need money to buy some gefilte fish? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I said. I said I need to feed my pet gefilte fish.
Look, I don't know what you're saying, but there's no such thing as a gefilte fish, Jonathan.
Then what was I just playing Scrabble with?
Mr. Goss isn't an English word, Jonathan.
Sure it is, fish. The rabbi uses it all the time. For example, when I started tap dancing on the dining room table, he said, "Hey, what's this, Mishigas?" Or like when I had the marching band practice in the living room for over a month, he said, "I'm tired of this, Mishigas."
Oh, like that time when you made those radish latkes for my annual Hanukkah luncheon. And I said, radish latkes? What sort of Mishigas is this?
Those were good.
But no triple word score. Not really, Jonathan. What are you playing Scrabble with?
I told you, my pet gefilte fish, and he gets super cranky when he hasn't eaten.
Oh, so hungry.
You know, I've been wondering this for a while now. Why don't you just eat that carrot on your head?
What? What? My carrot? Is that a joke? No, I think he's serious. I wear this carrot as a reminder. It's a reminder of my gefilte fish heritage. Do you know what it's like growing up in an ocean and being the only fish in school with a carrot on his head? No, you don't have any idea. It was hard. Stares, questions,
David made up songs about me. Where do you get off asking me that? I told you he gets cranky. I understand where it's coming from. He's clearly been through, some hard times. But what I don't understand is, what is he? What are you? I'm a gefilte fish. Look, I've learned a lot of Torah and even some Kabbalah, and I've seen some strange things, but I've never seen anything that explains this. But I got a lot of questions, but the one I'm going to ask you is, why do you have a pet gefilte fish? Well, why do you buy a mezuzah and put it on your door? Why do you have matzah on Passover? Look, those are mitzvahs. The Torah says we have to do those things. So, it isn't written in any book that you have to have a pet gefilte fish, but I like to. It sort of makes me feel more Jewish. So, what you're saying is that sometimes it's the little things that we don't necessarily have to do, but that we want to do because they make us feel more connected to who we are as Jews, that make the biggest impact. I guess. I mean, I remember how my grandmother always had gefilte fish, so when I saw this crazy little guy in a spooky shop in Chinatown, I just felt like I had to get him. Oh. Now I understand why you're so touchy about that carrot on your head.
You'd be
I
like,
am so hungry and
be like
weak
selling
now.
fucking
Come on,
like
gefilte
knock up
fish.
Rolexes.
Let's go get some bagels and some lox.
Have you ever been sold to knock
I
up
cannot
Rolex?
believe you just said that.
Yeah, fucking Washington DC. Yeah. They had like a fucking thing. Okay, this is the worst. Alright. So we'll continue. I don't know what that had to do with fucking Kit Boat. And somebody's gonna be like, what does this have to do with Kabbalah? No one fucking knows, kid. We'll figure it out. Alright. There's this thing I used to read. Had it on the wall in my fucking room. There's a timeline. Now we're gonna time this bitch. Because I'd like to read it every fucking day.
Timeline of Jewish history. Jewish history spans nearly 6,000 years, beginning with the creation, approximately 4,000 years before the Common Era. It continues through the years of the patriarchs, the Egyptian bondage, the judges, the First Temple era, when the kings of Judah and Israel ruled, the Babylonian exile, and the Second Temple era, which concluded with our being taken into exile yet again by the Romans. Throughout, Torah study and our faith in GT and his promise of redemption were our constant companions, providing the Jewish people with a divine compass through every challenge and change. Print this timeline. Creation of heaven and earth, and Adam and Eve. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 3,761 creation of the world, birth of Adam and Eve, Chava. Negative 3,631 130 Seth, son of Adam, was born. Negative 3,526 235 Enosh, son of Seth, was born. Negative 3,436 325 Kenan, son of Enosh, was born. Negative 3,366 395 Mahalal, son of Kenan, was born. Negative 3,301 460 Yerd, son of Mahalal, was born. Negative 3,139 622 Chanach, son of Yerd, was born. Negative 3,074 687 Metushalach, son of Chanach, was born. Negative 2,887 874 Lemech, son of Metushalach, was born. Negative 2,831 930 Adam died. Negative 2,705 1,056 Noah, son of Lemech, was born. Negative 2,225 1,536 Noah began the construction of the ark. Negative 2,205 minus 1,556 Yafet, son of Noah, was born. Negative 2,204 minus 1,557 Shem, son of Noah, was born. Negative 2,203 minus 1,558 Shem, son of Noah, was born. Negative 2,105-1,656 Metushalach died. Negative 2,105-1,656 the Great Flood covered the earth. Negative 2,103 1,658 Arpachshad, son of Shem, was born. Negative 2,068 is less than 1,693 Shelach, son of Arpachshad, born. Negative 2038 1,723 Ever, son of Shelach, was born. Negative 2004 1,757 Peleg, son of Eber, was born. Negative 1974 1,787 Reu, son of Peleg, was born. Negative 1942 1,819 Serach, son of Reu, was born. Negative 1912 1,849 Nacharai, son of Serach, was born. Negative 1,883 1,878 Terah, son of Nacharai, was born. The forefathers. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 1,813 1948 Abraham, son of Terah, was born. Negative 1,803 1958 Sarah, daughter of Haran, was born. Negative 1,788 1973 Abraham married Sarah. Negative 1765, 1996 dispersion from Babel after building the tower. Negative 1761, 2000 Terah left Jocasta with his family. Negative 1755, 2006 Noah died. Negative 1743, 2018 the covenant, Rib Bain Habeterim, with Abraham. Negative 1738, 2023 Abraham, settled in Canaan. Negative 1727, 2034 Ishmael, son of Abraham, was born. Negative 1713 is less than 2048 Abraham circumcised himself and Ishmael. Negative 1713, 2048 Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. Negative 1713 is less than 2048 Isaac, son of Abraham, was born. Negative 1677, 2084 the Akedah, where Isaac was brought on the altar by Abraham. Negative 1677, 2084 Sarah died. Negative 1653, 2108 Jacob and Esau were born. Negative 1638, 2123 Abraham died. Negative 1603 minus 2158 Shem, son of Noah, died. Negative 1590 minus 2171 Isaac blessed Jacob instead of Esau. Negative 1576, 2185 Jacob went to Haran. Negative 1574, 2187 Eber, great grandson of Shem, died. Negative 1569, 2192 Jacob married Leah and Rachel. Negative 1566, 2195 Levi, son of Jacob and Leah, was born. Negative 1562 199 Joseph, son of Jacob and Rachel, was born. Negative 1556, 2205 Jacob left Haran. Negative 1553, 2208 Benjamin was born. Negative 1545, 2216 Joseph was sold. Negative 1533, 2228 Isaac died. Negative 1532, 2229 Joseph became viceroy of Egypt. Negative 1526 is less than 2235 Caleb, son of Levi, was born. Negative 1523, 238 Jacob and his family went to Egypt. Living in Egypt. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 1506, 2255 Jacob died. Negative 1429 is less than 2332 after Levi died. The enslavement in Egypt began. Negative 1393, 2368 Moses was born. Negative 1355, 2406 Joshua was born. Negative 1314, 2447 Moses encountered the burning bush. Negative 1313, 2448 the Jewish nation left Egypt. Traveling through the desert. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 1313, 2448 the Jewish nation crossed the Red Sea. Negative 1313, 2448 the revelation at Mount Sinai and the giving of the Torah. Negative 1313, 2448 Moses broke the tablets. Negative 1312 is less than 2449 Moshe came down Mount Sinai with the second tablets. Negative 1312, 2449 the tabernacle was erected. Negative 1312, 2449 the spies returned from Canaan with bad news. Negative 1274, 2487 Aharon and Miriam died. Negative 1273, 2488 Moses died. Judges and early prophets. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 1273, 2488 the Jews crossed the Jordan into Canaan. Negative 1258 is less than 2503 the appointment of the land of Israel was completed. Negative 1245, 2516 Joshua died. Negative 1228 is less than 2533 the rule of judges began with Othniel ben Kenaz. Negative 1188 is less than 2573 Ehud ben Gera became leader. Negative 1107, 2654 Shamgar ben Anath died. Negative 1107 2654 Deborah became leader. Negative 1067, 2694 Gideon became leader. Negative 1027, 2734 Abimelech, son of Gideon, became leader. Negative 1024, 2737 Tola, son of Pureh, became leader. Negative 1003, 2758 of Jer, the Gileadite, became leader. Negative 982 ER 982, 2779 Jephthah, Agility, became leader. Negative 969, 2792 Elon, Hazapiloni, became leader. Negative 959, 2800, 2 Abdon ben Hillel became leader. Negative 951, 2810 Samson became leader. Negative 931, 2830 Eli the Cohen became leader. Negative 907, 2854 David was born. Negative 890, 2871 Samuel became leader. Kings and the First Holy Temple. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 879, 2882 Saul was appointed king. Negative 877, 2884 David became king of Judah in Hebron. Negative 869, 2892 David became king of Israel in Jerusalem. Negative 837, 2924 Solomon became king. Negative 833, 2928 the building of the first Beit Hamikdash commenced. Negative 827, 2935 the first Beit Hamikdash was completed. Negative 797 is less than 2964 Solomon died, and his kingdom was divided. Negative 797 2964 Rehabeam, son of Solomon, became king of Judah. Negative 797 is less than 2964 Jeroboam ben Nebat became king over Israel. Negative 718 3043 Elijah went up in a chariot of fire. Negative 677 3084 Yoash renovated the Beit Hamikdash. Negative 619 3142 Isaiah began his prophecies. Negative 574 3187 the first two of the 10 tribes were exiled. Negative 566 3195 another two of the 10 tribes were exiled. Negative 562 3199 Hezekiah became king of Judah. Negative 556. Negative 548 is less than 3213 Sennacherib invaded the land of Judah and retreated. Negative 533 3228 Manasseh, son of Hezekiah, became king of Judah. Negative 463 3298 of Jeremiah began his prophecies. Negative 458 is less than 3303 Josiah renovated the Beit Hamikdash. Negative 442 3319 Jerusalem was conquered and Jehoiakim was exiled. Negative 443 321 Joachim burned the book of Lamentations composed by Jeremiah. Negative 434 3327 Jerusalem was conquered again and Jehoiachin was exiled. Negative 433,331. Jeremiah persisted in prophesying calamity. Negative 429 is less than 3,332. Ezekiel prophesied in exile. Negative 425, 3,336. The final Babylonian siege of Jerusalem. Negative 423 is less than 3,338. The walls of Jerusalem were penetrated. Negative 423, 3,338. The sacrifices ceased in the Beit Hamikdash. Negative 423, 3,338. The first Beit Hamikdash was destroyed. Exile in Babylon. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 423, 3,339. Jediah ben Achikam was killed. Negative 421, 3,340. Daniel interpreted Nebuchadnezzar dream. Negative 410, 3,352. Ezekiel prophesied about the future of Beit Hamikdash. Negative 372, 3,389. Daniel read the writing on the wall. Negative 372, 3,389. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. Negative 371 is less than 3,390. Zerubbabel led the return to the land of Israel. Negative 373,391. Building of second Beit Hamikdash commenced, then halted. Negative 366, 3,395. Achashverosh, to made his great banquet. Negative 362, 3,399. Esther was taken to the palace. Negative 357, 3,404. Esther took action against Haman's decree. Negative 355, 3,406. Mordecai proclaimed the celebration of Purim. Negative 353 is less than 3,408. Building of the second Beit Hamikdash resumed. Negative 349 is less than 3,412. The second Beit Hamikdash was completed. Building of the second Holy Temple. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 348 E. 3,413. Ezra led the second return to the land of Israel. Negative 335,326. Nehemiah returned to rebuild walls of Jerusalem. Negative 313, 3,448. Ezra died. Negative 313 is less than 3,448. Simon the Sadak met Alexander the Great. Negative 313, 3,449. The Minion Sheret began. Greek cultural domination. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 273, 3,488. Simon the Sadak died. Negative 246 is less than 355,1572. Elders translated the Torah into Greek, Septuagint. Negative 140 minus 3,621. The revolt of Mattathiah the Chashmoni. Kingdom of Judea. Dynasty of the Chashmonim. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 139, 3,622. Judah the Maccabee ruled. Negative 139 is less than 3,622. The second Beit Hamikdash was rededicated. Negative 138 is less than 3,623. Hanukkah was declared a festival. Negative 133, 3,628. Judah the Maccabee was killed in battle. Negative 133 is less than 3,628. Yohanan, son of Mattathiah, ruled. Negative 127, 3,634. Shimon, son of Mattathiah, ruled. Negative 119 of 3,642. Yohanan Hyrcanus, son of Shimon, ruled. Negative 93 of 3,668. Judah Aristobulus, son of Yochanan Hyrcanus, ruled. Negative 91 minus 3,670. Alexander Yane, son of Yochanan Hyrcanus, ruled. Negative 73, 3,688. Queen Shalons and Salome, Alexandra, wife of Alexander Yane, ruled. Negative 65 minus 3,696. SHE Aristobulus, son of Alexander Yane, ruled TD. Negative 61, 3,700. The Romans gained control of Judea. Negative 61, 3,700. Hyrcanus, son of Alexander Yane, ruled. Negative 40 minus 3,721. Antigonus, son of Aristobulus, ruled. Roman client kings and rulers, the Herodian dynasty. Secular year Jewish year event in history. Negative 36 minus 3,725. Herod ruled, killing all the Chashmonon. Negative 33, 3,728. Hillel became the leader of the Torah scholars. Negative 19 minus 3,742. Herod began rebuilding the second Beit Hamikdash. Negative 11 is less than 3,750. Renovation of the second Beit Hamikdash was completed. 1,761. Archelaus, son of Herod, ruled. 8, 3,768 is Hillel died. 10, 3,770. Archelaus was deposed by the Roman emperor. 21, 3,781. Agrippa I, grandson of Herod, ruled. 28, 3,788. The Sanhedrin moved from the second Beit Hamikdash. 44, 3,804. Agrippa II, son of Agrippa I, ruled. 53,810. Rabban Gamliel I, son of Shimon, grandson of Hillel, died. 66, 3,826. Vespasian arrived in Judea to reassert Roman authority. 69 is less than 3,829. The second Beit Hamikdash was destroyed. The Talmudic era, the Mishnah. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 74, 3,834. Yohanan ben Zakkai died. 86, 3,846. The Sanhedrin moved from place to place under Gamliel II. 133, 3,893. Better fell, and the Bar Kochba revolt ended in tragedy. 134, 3,894. Judaism was banned, and Arkiba was imprisoned. 189, 3,949. Judah Hanasi completed the Mishnah around this time. The Talmudic era, the Gemara. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 219, 3,979. Rav left the land of Israel and settled in Babylonia. 247, 4,007. Shmuel was the Talmudic authority in Babylonia. 254, 4,014. Yohanan was the leading Talmudic authority. 290 or 4,050. Huna was the leading Talmudic authority. 298 is less than 4,058. Yehuda was the leading Talmudic authority. 300 or 4,060. Chista was the leading Talmudic authority. 309, 4,069. Rabbah was the leading Talmudic authority. 321, 4,081. Bar Yosef was the leading Talmudic authority. 325, 4,085. Abay was the leading Talmudic authority. 338 is less than 4,098. Is Rabbah was the leading Talmudic authority. 359, 4,119. Hillel II, who established the calendar, became Nasi. 392, 4,152. Ashi was the leading Talmudic authority. 427, 4,187. Ashi died after the compilation of the Gemara. 475, 4,235. The Talmud was complete when Ravina II died. The Rabbanan. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 551 4,311. Mar Zutra proclaimed Jewish self-rule in Babylonia. The Jainim. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 589, 4,349. The Talmudic Academy of Pompedita was reconstituted. 609, 4,369. The Talmudic Academy of Sura was reconstituted. 614, 4,374. The Persians conquered the land of Israel. 614, 4,374. The Jews were allowed to return to Jerusalem. 629, 4,389. Byzantine Empire reconquered the land of Israel. 636, 4,396. Yitzchak was the last god of Nehardia, Firas Shaber. 637, 4,397. The Arabs conquered the land of Israel. 645, 4,405. One of the Takan and Hegianim was enacted at this time. 755, 4,515 are Achagon left Iraq for the land of Israel. 759 are 4,519 are Yehuda became Bon of Surah. 759 e 4,519 the Halachit Jedalik Dag was written at this time. 788 4,548 another of the Tachnit Hegianim was enacted at this time. 858 is less than 4,618 are Amram, who wrote the Siddur, became Bon of Surah. 928 4,688 Rabbeinu Sadai was appointed Bon of Surah. 955 4,715 four captives were ransomed at around this time. 968 is less than 4,728 are Shera became Bon of Pumpedida. 997 are 4,757 are High became the last God of Pumpedida. 1,038 4,798 are High died, and the academies of Babylon declined. The early Rishonim, the Crusade massacres. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1,040 4,800 Rabbeinu Gersum near Hagla died. 1,088 is less than 4,848 the Rif arrived in Spain from Morocco. 1,096 4,856 the Crusaders destroyed Jewish communities. 1,099 4,859 Jerusalem was captured by the Crusaders. 1,103 4,863 the Rif died. 1,105 is less than 48,865 Rashi died, and the era of the Tosafot began. 1,135 is less than 485 the Rambam Maimonides was born. 1,144 4,900 for the first recorded blood libel took place. 1,147 is less than 4,900 7 the Crusaders attacked Jewish communities. 1,147 is less than 4,900 7 Rabbeinu Tam was captured by the Crusaders. 11,148 4,908 the Rambams and the Radix families left Cordova. 11,165 minus 4,925 the Rambam visited the land of Israel. 1,171 ER 4931 Rabbeinu Tam died. 11,175 minus 4,935 the Rashbam died. 1,184 4,944 the young son of the Re was killed. 1,187 4,948 Jews were allowed to return to Jerusalem. 1,189 or 4,949 are Yaakov Dorleon was killed in London. 1,190 is less than 4,950 Jews were massacred in England in the Third Crusade. 1,191 e 491 Rabbi David Kimchi, known as the Radak, wrote his commentary. 1,194 4,954 the Ramban Nachmanides was born. 1,198 4,959 the Rabbah died. 1,204 4,965 the Rambam died. 1,236 4,996 rampaging mobs massacred Jews in France. 1,242 5,002 a massive burning of the Talmud took place in Paris. 1,244 5,004 Jerusalem was sacked by Egyptians and Turks. 1,252 5,012 Inquisition began to use torture. 1,267 5,027 the Ramban left Spain and settled in the land of Israel. 1,275 5,030 the Ramban died. 1,286 504 6 the Mahram Rotenberg was imprisoned. 1,295 050 new works advanced the study of Kabbalah. 1,295 050 SE the era of the Tosafot concluded at around this time. Later Rishonim, persecutions and expulsions. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1,295 05050 all Jews were expelled from England. 193 5053 the Mahram Rotenberg died in prison. 1,298 is less than 50,058 the Rindfleisch massacres began. 1,298 is less than 50,058 the author of the Mordecai and Hagahit Maimoniah were killed. 1,305 5065 the Rashba placed a limited ban on philosophy. 1,305 5065 the Rosh and his son, the Tur, arrived in Spain. 1,306 5066 all Jews were expelled from France. 1,310 5070 the Rashba died. 1,325 080 Jews were massacred by the Pastoral Crusaders. 137 5088 the Rosh died. 1,336 5096 Jews of Germany were massacred by the Armlater bands. 1,338 5098 is of the Ralbag wrote his commentary on the Bible. 1,349 5109 209 the Black Death massacres swept across Europe. 1,367 5,127 the Ran, Rivash, and other scholars in Spain were imprisoned. 1,391 51 Jews of Spain were massacred. Many were forced to convert. 1,391 51 to the Rivash and Rashbats left Spain. 1,394 5,155 the final expulsion of Jews from France. 1,413 5,173 are Yosef Albo was in a forced debate with Christians. 1,421 5,181 Jews in Austria were massacred in the Wiener Gezerah. 1,475 is less than 5,235 the invention of printing was used for Jewish books. 1,481 5,241 the Inquisition was established in Spain. 1,488 5,248 are Avadia de Bernoro settled in Jerusalem. 1,491 5251 E251 Columbus consulted our Abraham Zacuto for his travels. 1,492 525 ERE 2 Jews were expelled from Spain and Sicily. The great scholars of the Shulchan Aruch and Torah consolidation. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1,493 5253 Yitzchak Barbanel arrived in Naples from Spain. 1,496 5257 EWE Jews were expelled from Portugal. 1,516 5276 EBI Yaakov was printed. 1,516 5276 the Turks, Ottoman Empire, conquered Eretz Yisrael. 1,525 5285 Yosef Yoselman saved many Jews during the Peasants' War. 1,553 5,314 a mass burning of Jewish books took place in Rome. 1,563 5,323 the Shulchan Aruch was completed by R. Yosef Karo. 1,575 330 the Shulchan Aruch was published with supplements of Rama. 1,572 5332 inches / the Arizal died in Svat. 1,573 5,333 the Mackerel came to Prague. 1,573 5334 2000 the Maharshal died. 1,575 5335 Yosef Karo died in Sefet. 1,599 5359 the Mackerel returned to Prague again. 1,614 5374 the Maharsha became rabbi in Lublin. 1,616 5377 the Tosafot Yom Tov commentary was concluded. 1,621 5382 the Shalah arrived in the land of Israel. 1629, 5389 R. Yom Tov Lippmann Heller was imprisoned in Prague. 1645,400 R. Yoel Sirks, the Bach, died. 1646, 5406, the Shach and Taz, on Shulchan were printed. 1648, 5408 Jews were massacred by Chmielnicki's forces. Early Acheronim and East European massacres. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1654, 5414 is less than the first Jews settled in New Amsterdam, New York. 1655, 5415 many Jews killed in Russian and Swedish invasions of Poland. 1656, 5416 Jews were permitted to live in England. 1656, 5416 Baruch Spinoza was excommunicated. 1673, E543 the Magen Abraham on Shulchan was completed. 1676, 5437 Shabtai Savi died as a Muslim. 1689, E549 the Beit Shmuel on the Shulchan was printed. 1698 is less than 5458. The Baal Shem Tov was born. 1725, 5463 the Ney Yahushua's family was killed in an explosion. 1712, 5472 ER 72 the Sifti Chachman was arrested. 1724, 5484 R. Yaakov Kuli, Nimlos, arrived in Constantinople. 1727, 5487 the Misnah Lemelech died. 1734, 5494 Jews were massacred by the Hademak bands. Acheronim and Burley Chassidim. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1741, 5501 or Hachem arrived in the land of Israel. 1747, 5507 R. Moshe Chaim Lazado, Ramshal, died in Akko, Acre. 1755, 510 R. Jonathan Yibashutz became rabbi in Hamburg. 1754, 5515 R. Yechezkel Landau, known as the Noda Yehuda, became rabbi in Prague. 1757, 5518 the Frankists instigated mass burnings of the Talmud. 17059, 5519 is Frankists supported blood libel charges in public debate. 1765, 520 the Baal Shem Tov died. 1764, E524 the Council of Four Lands, known as the Bad Arba Ratzit, was discontinued. 1768 is less than 55,528 despite resistance, the Haidamaks massacred thousands. 1772, 5532 the Maggid of Mezrich died. 1782, 2 RN, Adler, and Chatham Sofer visited the Noda Yehuda. 1786, 5546 R. Limelech of Lizinsk died. 1791, 5551 the Pale of Settlement was established in Russia. 1793, 5553 Jews suffered in reign of terror of French Revolution. 1797, 5558 the Vilna Gaon died. 1798 is less than 5559 the Baal Hataniah was released from first imprisonment. 1799, 5559 Napoleon led an army expedition through the land of Israel. 1806, 5566 the Chitta, R. Chaim Yosef David Azaleh died. 1806, 5566 the Chatham Sofer became rabbi in Pressburg. 1809, 5570 R. Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev died. 1810, 5571 R. Nathan of Breslov died. 1814, 5574 R. Kiva Ager became rabbi in Posen. 1814, 5575 is less than Koznitzer Maggid and Yehudi of Peshisha, both died. 1815, 5575 is Erchaza of Lublin and Armendel of Rimanov, both died. 1819, 5579 anti-Jewish riots spread throughout Germany. 1827, 5587 Russia began conscripting Jewish children to the army. 1845,600 R. Israel of Ruzhin was released from imprisonment. Later Acheronim and the Changing Society. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1843, 5603 that Semach Tzedek of Lubavitch was repeatedly arrested in Russia. 1846, 5606 Sir Moshe Montefiore visited Russia to help local Jews. 1848, 5609 R. Yisrael Salinger left Vilna. 1851, 5611 R. Shinshin Raphael Hirsch became rabbi in Frankfurt am Main. 1859, 5619 R. Menachem Mendel of Kotz died. 1864, 5624 the Malbim was imprisoned and then expelled from Romania. 1866, 5626 Chinashi Harem, Tiferet Shlomo, and Semach Tzedek died. 1873, 5633 the Chafetz Chaim was published. 1874, 5634 the Minchik Chinuch died. 1878, 5638 Peta Tikva agricultural settlement was established. 1881, 5641 many Jews began leaving Russia after a wave of pogroms. 1886, 5646 R. Shlomo Gansfrey, author of Kitzer Shulchan died. 1892, 5652 R. Chaim Brisker became rabbi in Brisk. 1905, 5665 the Svat Mamet died. 1905, 5665 many Jews were killed in official Russian pogroms. 1911, 5671 Chazan Ish was published. 1914, 5674 over 500,000 Jewish soldiers fought in World War I. 1918, 5678 over 60,000 Jews were killed during the Russian Revolution. 1923, 5684 the Daf Yomi study cycle commenced. 1927, 5687 the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe was released from Soviet prison. 1938, 5699 Jews were attacked in the Kristallnacht pogroms in Germany. The Holocaust. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1939, 5699 Germany started World War II and mass killing of Jews. 1941, 5701 Nazi Germany unexpectedly invaded Russia. 1941, 5701 200,000 Jews were killed at Babi Yar and Ponery. 1942, 5702 400,000 Jews of Warsaw were sent to death camps. 1943, 5703 Nazi Germany experienced massive losses in the Battle of Stalingrad. 1943, 5703 the remaining Jews in Warsaw staged a massive uprising. 1943, 5703 Jewish uprisings at Treblinka, Sobober, and Bialystok. 1943, 5703 the Danish people quietly rescued 93% of their Jews to safety. 1944, 5704 300,000 Hungarian Jews were killed in 3 months. 1944, 5705 uprising in Auschwitz death camp just before freedom. 1945, 5705 Nazi Germany was conquered, and World War II ended. 1945, 5705 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis during the war. The modern state of Israel. Secular year Jewish year event in history. 1947, 5707 publication of the Talmud Encyclopedia was commenced. 1947, 5708 the United Nations divided Israel. 1947, 5708 Arabs attacked Israel to gain territory. 1948 is less than 5708 the state of Israel was established. 1948 is less than 5708 Israel was invaded by many Arab countries. 1949, 5709 the war of independence in Israel ended. 1955, 710 is less than 510 all Jews left the ancient Jewish community of Iraq. 1955, 710 is less than almost all Jews of Yemen emigrated to Israel. 1951, 5711 the Lubavitcher Rebbe accepts the mantle of leadership. 1956, 571,717 Jewish forces invaded Egypt and conquered the Sinai Desert. 1967, 5,727 the Lubavitcher Rebbe established the Tefillin campaign. 1967, 5,727 Jerusalem reunited under Jewish rule in the Six-Day War. 1973, 5,734 2,500 Jewish soldiers were killed in the Yom Kippur War. 1974, 5,734 the Lubavitcher Rebbe established the Shabbat Candle campaign. 1982, 5,742 massive enemy arsenals were discovered in Lebanon. 1987, 5,746 the first international conference of Chabad Lubavitch emissaries. 1993, 5,753 a secret agreement signed in Oslo. 1994, 5,754 the Lubavitcher Rebbe passed away. 2008 is 5,767 deadly terrorist attack at the Chabad house in Mumbai, India, kill 6. 2020 is less 578,700 Israel signed Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with UAE and Bahrain, soon followed by Sudan and Morocco.
Right, so that takes like 22 minutes. But it's good. We might integrate it like every 10 times or something. I used to read that just like basically every fucking day. And I had it. I definitely look at it every day. Alright. I'd like to memorize it someday. Alright, now what? Let's see what that fucking family's doing. This is the worst. It's supposed to be Kabbalah and it's nothing about Kabbalah. There's a little Kabbalah in there.
The resting place of the Lubavitcher Rebbe is located in New York City, and many Jews visit it throughout the year, including many leaders.
Do we ever go viral, kids? This is the first place we're going. Really? Yep.
Figures and ordinary people. It is in a very central place, just a 10-minute drive from Kennedy Airport. Welcome to the Ohel, the holy gravesite of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Right from the beginning of the Rebbe's leadership of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, hundreds of thousands of people have flocked to see the Rebbe throughout the year, to ask for a blessing or for advice, or even just to be close to him. Even today, hundreds of thousands of people still come to visit from around the world to pray or to ask for a blessing. The Ohel is located in the Montefiore Cemetery in the New York borough of Queens. Here is the entrance to the Ohel. You can always find someone to help you right here at this house, which also functions as a Chabad house. Here, behind the house, is a large hall that is the entrance to the Ohel, where you can prepare before you actually reach the Rebbe's resting place.
I'd like to pee in those
Here,
things.
you can find somewhere to sit. There are kippot for men and scarves for women.
Wouldn't that be
paper
fucking
pens, and a dedicated staff on hand to answer any
disrespectful?
questions
I
that
think
you
the
may have.
Rebbe would like it.
Before you go into the Ohel, you can write a pidyon nefesh, a personal letter to the Rebbe. Write whatever is on your mind and ask
Dear
for a blessing
Pimp,
for yourself
why didn't you
and your
let me
loved
go
ones.
viral sooner? I've been
Before
emailing
writing
you
the letter,
for
wash your
years.
hands in one of the sinks here. Soon you will place the letter on the Rebbe's gravesite. Write the full Hebrew name and the mother's Hebrew name of any person whom you mention in your letter to the Rebbe. Please dress modestly as a sign of respect for this holy site.
I work
Are you
for the
wearing
rest of
leather
the shit.
shoes? Before entering the Ohel,
Why not?
please observe the custom of removing them and putting on a pair of non-leather shoes provided for visitors. Here you may take a candle and light it at the Ohel.
Oh, like the fucking grotto.
Are you ready to enter the Ohel? This door will take you to the path that leads you there. The Ohel is a small building that's a short distance away from the door that we've just walked through.
No cell phones. I'm gonna text him there. Bitch, why don't you fucking
As you go
answer
inside,
me?
you'll reach a narrow lobby where you can light the candle that you brought with you. From there, you can go into
I'm gonna
the
use a
actual
USB
Ohel.
lighter. Why? Just to be
The
sexy.
door on the right is for men, and the door on the left is for women. As a sign of respect, knock gently on the door before you walk through.
Which one will you go in? It depends. This is a queen, so I don't know. What is it? Is this chicken scratch? I'd just be like, is this chicken scratch? Cool, dog.
In this holy place,
I think this motherfucker is frozen in the basement of Mount Sinai. Really? Uh-huh. Why?
While you are praying, quietly read the note that you have
That'd be
written,
tight.
and then tear it up before leaving the pieces of paper by the
You
graveside.
never fucking answered me. Maybe it is though. If I'm there, then my prayer got answered.
As you leave the Ohel, go back to the lobby that you walked through earlier and wash your hands. You have now visited the Rebbe, leaving you with a feeling of joy, inspiration, and the hope that your prayers will be answered. Coffee and cake are provided for visitors in the corner of the hall.
Is it Adam?
It's important to know that whenever you face a dilemma, have a problem, or you simply want to feel connected, you can always write to the Rebbe about whatever is on your mind. You can
No
send your
one's
letters
watching
to the
my
Ohel
streams.
24 hours a day via fax or email. The staff at the Ohel will then place your letter on the Rebbe's gravesite. Don't worry, no one will look at your letter or read what's written there.
No, look, my
The
letter's
final
dropped down.
redemption is closer than ever. Another good deed can make it happen today. Before you leave the Ohel and go back to your car, make a good resolution. Maybe this is what will bring Mashiach.
Pushka.
And may we see the Rebbe again very soon. Have a safe trip.
Alright, well, they're not driving correctly. Good job. Alright, is that the end of your fucking segment? You gotta do something. Yeah, we've got a question. Yo, dog, I don't want to read Torah right now. Can you give me a breakdown on when the bris happened? Why Abraham circumcised himself and Ishmael? And then, like, what happened with Isaac? Give me a breakdown. Timeline, baby. Please. Alright, let's do some clean cloud. You're asking about the Brit covenant, the circumcision of Abraham and Ishmael, and how Yitzhak so we're in Bereshit, mainly chapter 17 on timeline, the Brit and what happened after. For the Brit, the setup, Abraham, exalted father, leaves Mesopotamia at age 75. Has the Brit Bain Habetarim, covenant between the pieces, in Bereshit 15, where God promises numerous descendants, the land of Canaan, future exile, and redemption. At this point, Abraham still has no child with Sarah. Ishmael is born. Sarah gives her maidservant Hagar to Abraham. Ishmael is born. This happens 13 years before the circumcision covenant. The big moment, Brit Milah, age 99. Dude, imagine being 99 years old and cutting your dick off. Oh, unreal. The big moment, Brit Milah, age 99. Bereshit. Abraham is 99 years old. God appears and changes his name Abraham to Abraham, father of multitude. Sarai to Sarah, princess. Name change, identity shift, new destiny. Establishes Brit Milah, covenant of circumcision. God commands every male must be circumcised at 8 days old. God appears and changes his name, establishes Brit Milah. Okay, sign of the covenant, an eternal covenant between God and Abraham's descendants. This is not just medical, it's covenantal identity. Abraham circumcises himself same day. Abraham is 99, Ishmael is 13. All males in the household are circumcised. Midrash emphasizes Abraham does it immediately, no hesitation. Radical obedience. I'm 99 years old. Dog, if you told me that 99 years old, I don't care who it is, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. Really? Probably. That's just how I am, though, baby. Promise of Yitzhak. Still in Bereshit 17, God tells Abraham, Sarah will give birth. The son will be called Yitzhak. He will laugh. The covenant will continue specifically through him. Important. God says explicitly, my covenant I will establish with Yitzhak. That means Ishmael is blessed, but covenantal destiny flows through Yitzhak. I'd be like, dog, I just cut my dick off, and I'm just blessed. Abraham laughs when told he'll have a child at 100. Abraham laughs, not disbelief, more astonishment. Later, Sarah laughs too. Bereshit 18. Hence the name Yitzhak. Yitzhak is born. Abraham, age 100, 1 year after the Brit. Yitzhak is born. He is circumcised at 8 days old. First person to be circumcised on day 8, as commanded. Yishmael and Yitzhak tension. When Yitzhak is weaned, Sarah sees Yishmael mocking. She demands Hagar and Yishmael be sent away. God tells Abraham to listen to Sarah. Covenant line confirmed through Yitzhak, but God promises Yishmael will also become a great nation. Why did Abraham circumcise himself? 3 layers. Obedience, God commanded. Abraham obeyed instantly. Covenant marker, unlike Brit Ban Batarim, which was a symbolic ritual, Brit Milah is on the body, permanent, generational. Spiritual refinement, Jewish thought, especially later in Kabbalah, sees circumcision as removing spiritual blockage, perfecting creation, human partnership, and divine refinement. So he leaves his homeland at 75. Brit Ban Batarim, 70s and 80s, Ishmael born, Brit Milah Yitzhak born. All right. So leaves his homeland on 75. Brit Ban Habatarim, 70s, 80s. Yishmael born 86. Brit Mila 99. Yitzhak born 100. The core takeaway: Yishmael is a biological son, blessed. Yishmael is a biological son, he's blessed. Yitzhak is a covenantal heir. Brit Mila, a physical sign that Abraham's family carries a unique mission. The covenant becomes embodied literally. The Brit being had Batarim, the covenant between the pieces. Let's break down the Hebrew first. Brit, covenant, ban between Habatarim, the pieces, cut pieces. So literally the covenant between the cut pieces. Where is it? Bereshit, Genesis 15. What happens before Brit Milah? What actually happened? God tells Avram, he's still called Avram at this point, bring a cow, a goat, a ram, a dove, a young pigeon. Avram cuts the larger animals in half and layers the pieces opposite each other. Then a deep sleep falls on Avram. A terrifying darkness descends. God tells him his descendants will be strangers in a land not theirs, Egypt enslaved and later redeemed. A smoking furnace and flaming torch pass between the pieces. That passing between the pieces seals the covenant. What does it mean? In the ancient Near East, this was how treaties were made. The idea was, may I be cut like animals if I break this covenant. It's serious covenant language, but here's the wild part. Only God's presence passes between the pieces. Avram does not. That means the covenant is unilateral. God binds himself to the promise. What is promised? 3 big things: numerous descendants, the land of Canaan, exile and redemption, Egypt prophecy. How is this different from Brit Milah? Covenant circumcision. Brit Man Habataram. God obligates himself, national destiny, land promise, prophecy of exile, Brit Milah. Abraham must act, physical sign of the body, eternal generational obligation, identity, covenant. One is historical, national, the other is embodied, personal. In one line, Brit being Hebutarim, God promising the Jewish future, Brit Milah, the Jewish people making themselves as partners in that future. Please give me a list of the, in order chronologically, of all of the Kabbalistic works, like as it's seen in order of who wrote what in Judaism. You don't have to tell me everything. Just give me a list, 1 to 50, with approximately the years that they were written or when they take place. Just a list, 1 and then 2 and then 3. Okay, response 1. Early mystical era. Alright, so we're not going to do this today. Dog. Oh, Book of Enoch. Doug, don't make me make decisions. Just give me the list, but make sure to include the Book of Enoch if it's relevant. Please ensure the Book of Enoch is included if it is relevant. Also put who wrote each book. Yo, dog, what about the book that Adam wrote? All right, that's cool. Dog, if this fucking thing works, it is gonna light Israel on fire.